Jabs. I hated lavender. I hated her. How could he not know? It's beautiful. Beautiful, but haunting. Seth Miller placed his camera bags on the ground and stretched his arms over his head, his gaze bouncing from the peeling main house to the meandering line of decaying additions behind it. Beyond the building, the steely blue of the Atlantic punched its way over the small island's southeastern rocky shoreline, spewing frothy cold water onto a patchy, browning lawn. A single seagull sat on a sagging porch roof watching us. An old wooden rowboat leaned against the porch railing, its bottom boards as worn and faded as the house's shingles. Seth's gaze locked onto the boat. Where do we even start? Wherever you want. I studied the building alongside him. It had been love at first sight with the old inn and its ramshackle cottages, but I'd only been allowed inside the annex after a thorough inspection and after the Wicker Foundation had secured the purchase. Our first project was to finish one of the cottages, but the rest of the structures on the island remained largely uninhabitable. The main building and the cottages will remain. The rest of the inn is being demolished. Seth squinted, covering his eyes against the sun's glare with a well-manicured hand. That's a shame. Wait until you see the inside of the annexes. You'll think differently. Can I see them now? We'll need to be careful. The floors are rotted and there's broken glass, mildew, and hazards everywhere. Careful is my middle name. Besides, we should capture the whole sad thing. The before and after contrast will help the Wicker Foundation raise money. He pointed to the house additions with their caved-in roofs and broken window panes. There's not a lot to salvage back there. For sure. I wished they could save the entire building, but the cost of repairing and remodeling the 3,000 square feet of additions was too much, even for Josh and the Wicker Foundation. I glanced up at Seth. The Ross house evolved over time. I'm sure it'll survive one more new identity. I thought it had been in the Ross family for generations. It had. Researching the history of the island and the house had been my job, and discovering its roots had been a triumph. It started out as a simple Puritan homestead, a small shack, some outbuildings, a pasture area for chickens and maybe pigs. There's even an old cemetery tucked away in the corner of the island. Seth looked out on the fields between the Ross house and the cottages, which sat up on the hill around the perimeter of the island. The fields, now covered with scraggly meadow and weedy brush, had been fallow for decades. He said, "Imagine living here, at the mercy of the sea, and trying to grow your own food in this sandy, rocky soil. Every day would be about survival." Seth's eyes darkened. I don't know how they did it, or why they'd do it. Why choose such a difficult life? I wasn't surprised by Seth's reaction. This place had that effect on people. Maybe it was the feeling of isolation. Maybe it was the raw vulnerability of the land itself. People don't always get to choose their path, especially back then. Seth was silent a moment. I don't believe that. You don't have to. I settled against the porch railing and held my face up to the ocean breeze. The pungent, briny smell of the sea never got old. After that, it was an inn for a few years. And then a nut house. I frowned at his choice of words. Michael Ross, great-great-grandfather to the most recent owner, Miles Ross, was a wealthy man whose wife had mental health issues. These days, doctors would probably say Michael's wife suffered from postpartum depression, but back then they labeled her with something uglier and more damning. From what I could tell, Michael Ross wanted to avoid the stigma of an institution, so he bought this place and created a so-called health sanctuary for wealthy women. It was in operation until the mid-1900s. I shrugged. After that, the Ross family handed this island down from generation to generation, using it only as a family estate.